Hollywood, if she could. And she will. This was the provocative tagline for the 1992 movie Cool World. A surreal movie that mixes live action with animation, while also adding a dash of noir with psychedelic visuals. In this comedy of which, despite its cartoon visuals, is definitely aimed at an older audience. In this movie, Brad Pitt plays a human detective living in the dimension known as Cool World, a world occupied by living cartoons otherwise known as doodles, where a femme fatale character known as Hollywood, played by Kim Basinger, wants to escape Cool World and become human by seducing the man who created her, former inmate Jack, played by Gabriel Byrne. Detective Frank Harris tries to stop this consummation, as under no circumstances whatsoever can doodles do the spicy tango with humans, otherwise known as noids. Yeah, once again, this script is pretty far out there. So today we're checking out the movie with plenty of doodles, Cool World, by looking into 10 things that you didn't know about this movie, which is kind of like the bizarro version of Who Framed Roger Rabbit, or be that the adults only after hours version. Let's check it out. Number 10. The mind behind Cool World. Cool World was the creation of animator and filmmaker Ralph Bakshi. In the 60s, he worked on the animation for a Spider-Man cartoon. However, he also had a career of making adult animated movies, including the naughty comedy Fritz the Cat, as well as Heavy Traffic, a movie of which I'm pretty sure I will not be able to show its title on YouTube, American Pop, Fire and Ice, as well as others, including an animated Lord of the Rings movie. In 1987, Bakshi took a break from movies to create the animated series Mighty Mouse: The New Adventures, which makes sense as all the way back in 1960 he previously worked on the animation for an older Mighty Mouse cartoon. It was due to the success of Mighty Mouse: The New Adventures that Bakshi decided to return to the theatrical world and create another adult animated movie which mixes animation with live action. Number 9. Cool World was originally going to be a horror movie. Okay, so Bakshi's original vision of Cool World was about a jail inmate who creates a comic book while in jail, where one of his creations, a sinister femme fatale called Debbie Dallas, yeah, we all know what that's a reference to, comes to life and does the spicy tango with the inmate who created her, where she returns to the animated world and births a half-animated, half-human hybrid, who has grown up to be resentful of its human father for abandoning it, who then tries to track down the inmate and kill him. Yeah, pretty freaky stuff. Bakshi saw this film as being a twisted, animated, live-action, erotic horror movie, and pitched his idea to Paramount Pictures, who, according to Bakshi, it only took 10 seconds for them to greenlight this beast. Probably because at that time, Who Framed Roger Rabbit came out and was hugely successful, with son of Paramount president at that time, Frank Mancuso Jr. coming on board as producer, who previously produced a heap of Friday the 13th movies. However, Paramount Pictures had their own ideas for Cool World. After years of making Friday the 13th movies, Mancuso Jr. didn't want to make another horror movie, but rather something else. Number 8. Cool World Rewritten. So it seems that there were several different scripts of Cool World being created simultaneously at the same time. There was Ralph Bakshi, who was writing his own script, and Poltergeist writers Mark Victor and Michael Grace, who wrote their own script of Cool World based on Bakshi's ideas and concepts. Hence the fact the final film is quite different to the original vision. However, this caused quite the controversy and conflict, as apparently Bakshi didn't know another script was being written behind his back, without his permission, where a persistent rumour claims that in a rage, Bakshi approached producer Frank Mancuso Jr. and punched him in the mouth. Yeah, right in the chompers, whoa! However, as recent as 2022, Bakshi refuted these claims by saying he didn't punch Mancuso Jr., but rather he just yelled at the producer, and that he actually likes Mancuso Jr. Either way, clearly there was tension on set. Like, real bad feelings. Which sounds about as pleasant as Rachel Zegler on steroids. Like full roid raging. Ugh. Number 7. Original choices for the two main leads. Ralph Bakshi's original vision was to cast Brad Pitt and Drew Barrymore as the movie's two main leads of Jack and Holly, which, although they were rising movie stars at that time and popular with the younger crowd, the studio wanted big names in the movie who would draw in big audiences. So Kim Basinger, who previously reached huge heights of success in Batman, was cast as Holly Wood, and Willem Dafoe was considered to play Jack, but instead it was Irish actor Gabriel Byrne who was cast as the main human protagonist Jack Deebs, who sort of didn't create Cool World. However, still wanting a young Brad Pitt in the movie, he was then cast as Frank Harris instead, a World War II veteran who finds himself transported to the Cool World dimension and becomes a detective in that world. And according to Wikipedia, that character was specifically written for Pitt, probably to get him in the movie one way or another. Number 6. More conflict behind the scenes. Yay! More conflict. Woohoo! So despite drastic changes being made to his script, Ralph Bakshi would direct Cool World, with the filming of the live-action scenes taking place in April 1991, at locations including Las Vegas and sound stages at Paramount Pictures in Hollywood, California. Now, there was a dispute over the movie's rating. Bakshi wanted the movie to be a hard R rating, but producer Frank Mancuso Jr. wanted the movie to be PG-13, as a PG-13 movie would guarantee more movie theatre seats being filled, particularly the under-17 crowd. So Mancuso Jr. convinced Paramount to reduce Cool World to a PG-13 rating, and thus this made Bakshi feel that Mancuso Jr. backstabbed him and betrayed him. And so 48 Hours co-writer Larry Gross came on board to do uncredited rewrites to assure the movie's now intended PG-13 rating. Supposedly, Kim Basinger then got in on the ordeal and said to the powers that be, "Hey, why don't you let me rewrite the script?" as she could make it child-friendly and use the movie to show to sick children at hospitals. But needless to say, they didn't go with the Kim Basinger sick children at hospital approach to Cool World. But never mind, I'm sure there are other movies in 1992 to show to the sick kids, like Beethoven or Aladdin or some shit. Number 5. The animators were given free range. The animated world in Cool World does look really strange and surreal, and like entering a noir, abstract cartoon kaleidoscope nightmare fever dream. It's kind of like Toontown from Who Framed Roger Rabbit, only Toontown on acid, as well as being a little bit rougher and a little bit meaner and a whole lot dirtier. Rrr. And it's very visually noisy too. I mean, something that stood out to me the first time I watched Cool World was all the random shit that was just flying around all over the place. Like, what's the go with that floating dog's head? Apparently, it was always Bakshi's intention for the movie to look like a living walk-through painting. However, the animators were never given a screenplay, or much direction for that matter. Bakshi told them to pretty much do whatever they want, but just make it funny. So that's probably why the animation is so bizarre. It was really down to the animators' imaginations to bring to life a living, breathing comic book dimension. And in addition to all that, something that was a source of inspiration for the animation style was the Max Fleischer cartoons of the 30s and 40s. Number 4. Cool World actually managed to get David Bowie. Oh wow, they managed to get him. Cool. So there are plenty of cool, hip songs that turn up in Cool World by contemporary artists of that time, including My Life with the Thrill Kill Cult. What a stupid name. I love it. And Moby. However, the production also managed to get rock royalty on board too, as none other than David Bowie added his services to the movie and recorded the song Real Cool World, making this his first solo song in 3 years. The song was even accompanied by a music video showing scenes from the movie, as well as what I'm guessing is meant to be artistical shots of Bowie jumping around like he's got ants in his pants. Okay, I don't think that's actually Bowie, as you never see his face, but this stylish, slick art house footage does somewhat clash with the crazy animation, but meh, I'm all for it. And the song has a wonderfully sleazy, jazzy sound, as well as sounding like electronic dance music. The song would reach number 9 in the US Dance Club Billboard charts, as well as number 53 in the UK and number 131 here in Australia. Wow, in 1992 here in Australia, we really had no time for the song Real Cool World. Number 3, merchandising. So to help promote the movie, as pointed out by CBR.com, DC Comics released a 4-part prequel comic book series of Cool World. Now, I find it really fascinating that Cool World wasn't given a direct comic book adaptation of the movie itself, but rather its own story that focuses on the events that lead up to the movie. That's quite unique for its time. The comic captures the crazy artwork of the movie, while also adding its own look, with the covers kind of looking like pulp comics from the 30s and 40s. There was also a video game on Super Nintendo, and just like the movie, it recaptures the colourful psychedelic look of the film. Seriously though, what I'm about to say may sound controversial, but in my opinion, the Super Nintendo was better than Nintendo 64. It just had better games and better graphics. I was never sold on the cube look. Speaking of promoting and getting the word out there, Italy got a different movie poster, where Brad Pitt's Frank Harris character was replaced by Hollywood, despite the fact that Hollywood is already on the poster. Hey, I guess it's 2 Hollywoods for the price of 1. And really bizarre, in that part of the world, the movie was called Escape from Dreamworld. Yeah, Escape from Dreamworld. It's an unwritten rule in the movie commandments. You don't start a movie title with the word escape, unless the movie stars Kurt Russell. In addition to that, in the Czech Republic, Cool World was called Sensational World. In Greece, it was called Wicked World. In Hungary, it got the name Mischievous World. In Poland, it was called Wonderful World. Brazil titled it to Forbidden World. But my favourite alternative title has to be the Korean one, where Cool World was called, get ready for this, drum roll, Kim Basinger's Transcendence. Heck yeah, I'll buy that for $1. Number 2, the movie's marketing campaign offended people. So in order to get the public hyped for Cool World as the new Who Framed Roger Rabbit, be that a more adult After Dark version of Who Framed Roger Rabbit, the powers that be went all out to promote the movie in a spectacular way, by having a 75-foot tall display of the character Hollywood in all her animated sex appeal sit on the Hollywood sign. However, this caused less awe from the public and more outrage, which even led to protests because of the highly sexualized nature of the Hollywood character. After all, she was advertised on the movie's poster as Hollywood if she could and she will. So after a heap of people protested and screamed and got their undergarments in a twist, the advertising campaign was deemed offensive and sexist. But the brains behind the operation at Paramount Pictures then came out of the woodwork and said, hey, please don't be angry at us. Here's a heap of money to make everyone happy. Whereas a way of saying, sorry, we totes didn't mean to offend anyone, they donated $27,000 to the city of Los Angeles, and a further $27,000 to help with repairs caused by the LA riots. Personally, I would have thought there would have been more bigger things to get offended about than a cartoon. I mean, is this image of Hollywood that was used in the marketing really any worse than Jessica Rabbit? A character from a kids movie, who, due to the popularity of that movie, was also plastered everywhere? In which clearly no one had a problem with that, or at least there weren't any protests. Ugh, I guess it's okay if it's Disney doing it, but hey, what do I know? I'm just a bald nincompoop. So I guess this wasn't a case of Hollywood, as Holly didn't after all. Number 1. Not so cool floppy wop. Now here in Australia, Cool World got no advertising whatsoever. I never saw any trailers or anyone talking about it. Yep, I can remember clearly everyone was talking about Batman Returns and Wayne's World, but there didn't seem to be any love for Cool World. In fact, I remember flicking through a magazine and seeing a tiny image of the movie's poster on one of the pages, and thought that the movie looks like an edgy version of Roger Rabbit. To me, it looked awesome, and I thought, why haven't I heard of this movie? You know, what's going on here? Even the title of Cool World intrigued me, as it sounded badass. As it happens, Cool World was released in July 1992, and it was a complete box office bomb, as it only made just over $14 million on its budget of $28 million, so it couldn't recoup its costs and performed much lower than expected. Yep, it wasn't so much an explosive box office performance, but more like explosive diarrhea. It was felt that Cool World just didn't reach the intended younger audience. Apparently, after opening up in the 6th spot in the box office, the following week, in its 2nd week, Paramount Pictures immediately cancelled the advertising of Cool World. Well, that'll explain why I didn't hear about it at the time, and no wonder it failed. Who knows, had more people known about it, the numbers could have grown over the next few weeks, but nope, it's like Paramount lost faith in the movie and abandoned it. In addition to that, Cool World got set upon by critics. Leonard Maltin thought the movie was too serious to be fun and too goofy to be taken seriously. Roger Ebert called it a surprisingly incompetent film, and Variety found it to be an extended music video. And it currently has a whopping score on Rotten Tomatoes of 4%. Yeah, which is more proof that we should not take that website as a reliable source. Cool World also won a Razzie nomination for Worst Actress for Kim Basinger, and Ralph Bakshi would speak of his disappointment of the movie, saying if done right, the movie could have been worth it, but ultimately, he felt the end result wasn't worth it. However, as time has gone on, more appreciation for Cool World has grown. The Encyclopedia of Fantasy described the movie as one of the fantastic cinema's most significant achievements, further adding that it reveals greater depth with each viewing. Wow, that's a far cry from all the trash talk it got upon its theatrical release. So as time has gone by, it's definitely received more praise and has become a cult movie. Even Ralph Bakshi would change his mind and feel like Cool World did have some of the best animation he's ever done. So maybe given how strange and surreal Cool World is, and how it truly is a one-of-a-kind, unique movie, maybe when it first came out we just weren't ready for it. Maybe this was one that needed to grow on us and have us prepared for it. So it was a misunderstood movie that was then let down by a studio that didn't believe in it, and critics who got uppity and threw their college degrees at it. But that has not stopped Cool World from being fully realised as a brilliant movie, one that is truly out of this world. So, I think that about wraps everything up. I'll finish up by saying I'm minty, and I always say that. And I really do wonder what an R-rated version of Cool World would have been like. Or if maybe there's an R-rated cut in a vault somewhere. See ya!